You don't need validation from anyone. Wake up. Are you listening yet? Hey, it's 𝑘𝑎𝑠ℎ𝑒𝑦𝑎. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to make this video to speak life into really whoever's watching this and whoever needed to hear this, because sometimes we all could use a little reminder. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about self-love, because self-love is one of the best forms of love that you can give yourself. And I know a lot of times people struggle with loving themselves. It's a process, it takes time, you know? But, ultimately, perfection is subjective and ultimately an illusion. Let me say that again. Perfection is subjective and ultimately an illusion. There's no such thing as perfect. You are your biggest masterpiece, whether you choose to believe that or not. A lot of times it takes time to work on you, to love yourself and to learn what it means to love yourself, to nurture yourself, to take care of yourself, to be kind to yourself. It takes time, and I know sometimes I can't speak for everyone, but I know many people resonate with struggling to love themselves internally, externally, physically, mentally, yeah. To love yourself is to love every part of you, flaws and all. Again, loving yourself takes time. In order to grow, you first have to make a couple of mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Sometimes you have to fail in order to succeed. Yeah, and I talk to myself about this a lot in my alone time, but I truly do see people as energy, and I strongly believe that people are what they radiate, and that they radiate what they're full of. Negative or positive, that energy can be good or bad. Sometimes how a lot of people treat people is a reflection of, how they see themselves. And I just feel like whenever you're around someone and they're just radiating nothing but negativity, that's what they're full of. That's a norm to them. And if they hang around people that enable that behavior, 10 times out of 10, a lot of times they're cut from the same cloth. So that's why I just really find it really important, who you surround yourself with and who you choose to allow into your space, because people do rub off on people. And sometimes you could pick up, some of those habits or traits that the other person may be radiating, and then essentially you start to become like them or another version of them. My essential point, I just really wanted to talk about loving yourself, because if I'm being transparent, I've even had my own moments where I've struggled to and I'm speaking physically and mentally, but I've struggled to love myself and understand what it means to love yourself, essentially, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's safe to say I have made it to that point of where I do love myself, I value myself, I know my worth. And, I don't like seeing other people, I know it's I don't want to say a normal thing, but it's not uncommon when people have, low self-esteem or things like that. And I just feel like, it happens. And the fact that you're able to acknowledge that, I feel like that's already, a step. You essentially have found the root. You understand the root of your current problem or predicament, whatever you want to call it. Now you just have to take the steps to, solve it, And yeah, I feel like a lot of times in life we end up getting caught up or focusing on things that, are important, but you kind of put them on a pedestal and make them more important than they are. I know a lot of people, they can disagree with me all they want, but I feel like deep down, a lot of people, they do seek and crave validation from other people, whether it's with being liked, whether it's with being heard, whether it's with being seen, which is why they do a lot of the things that they do. Because if you really didn't care what people thought of you, then you wouldn't put so much effort in trying to appear a certain way for strangers that you don't even know and probably will never even talk to, people that you never even seen a day in your life, people that you don't even care about. Well, in a way you kind of do if you're trying to put on a certain image, but you know what I'm saying. And it's just like, I love when people are secure in themselves and they're unapologetically themselves, regardless of what people have to say or regardless of what people think about them. Because regardless of what you do, there's always going to be someone who has something to say about you, whether it's good or bad. And a lot of times, depending on what that person says, it stems from a lot of things: jealousy, intimidation, self-doubt, etc. It can even stem from trauma, just a lot of things. Low-level consciousness, conditioning, yeah. But I just love strong-rooted people, It doesn't matter what people have to say about them, and I love when people don't let people get into their heads about things. Because it leads back to what I was saying before. Like, I don't know, it's very easy to get sidetracked and caught up in things that, don't essentially hold value, but you give them more value than what they actually have. And yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm talking in circles. I'm trying to stay on a specific topic, but my mind just tends to wander. I also wanted to add that I'm literally in college now, but I still like to apply this to my life because this will literally, I had 2 models when I was in high school, specifically my sophomore year. And I will always be keep moving forward regardless of anything. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, no expectations equal no disappointment, but that's not the other one. Oh yeah. It was keep moving forward regardless of anything, and people only have as much power over you as you allow them. Again, people only have as much power over you as you allow them. Like, I understand sometimes words can hurt. Like, I know they say the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words do hurt. Sometimes they do hurt, especially when it's coming from someone that you care about. Like, some people can disagree all they want, but I feel like it's different when those words are coming from someone you care about. Like, when you care about something, whether it's your partner, your best friend, whoever, you don't want to hear like something hurtful coming from their lips about you. It's going to make you feel some type of way if you are the type of person that, takes that to heart because it's someone you care about. Of course, you care what they think. That's your person, that's your friend, that's, whoever. But yeah, people really only have as much power over you as you let them or as you allow them. Because people could say anything about you, but it's up to you whether you choose to let it resonate with you or not. Like, somebody can insult you, they could pick at you, they could make a face at you, whatever. But it's really up to you whether you choose to allow their negative energy to dim your light or to feed off onto you, to pour into you. And it just makes me think of another thing. Like, I just love warm people or people that are like a breath of fresh air. It's like how I like to see myself, a breath of fresh air. Like, when it comes to me, you don't have to put on a certain front or pretend to be someone you're not. Like, I'm a very solitary person, but because I'm solitary and introverted, it doesn't mean I don't, like seeing other personality types. Like, I like observing people, not to sound like a weirdo or whatever. I'm trying to say it in a way that makes sense. But sometimes I don't go out very often, but I do go out sometimes, whether that's to like run errands or just admire Earth, because I really do like plants and stuff and nature in general. So sometimes I'll go out just to sit and think and just really, take time to just take everything in. What are you talking about? I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I just think it's really important that people learn to be, so rooted in themselves that outside opinions can't affect them unless they allow them to. Especially if it's obviously someone just projecting, because people do that a lot. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being confident. And it's important to love yourself. Like, self-love is one of the best forms of love. It's one of the best types of love you can have for yourself. Flaws and all. And again, like, there's no such thing as perfect. If anything, your flaws make you being human and having flaws makes you beautiful, essentially. Again, I like to see people as energy. And some people have warm energies, and some people just have, I don't want to say rotten, but like sour energies, And it's like when those types of energies invade the warm energy space, it can kind of like dim it out and consume it, which is why it's really important to mind who you surround yourself with. Because misery loves company. A lot of times, which is why it's also important to set boundaries, because boundaries really root out the weeds. Like, if someone can't respect whenever you set up a boundary, or they try to gaslight you into thinking that you setting those boundaries is overreacting or you doing too much, they're a weed and they need to be rooted out of your garden, because they're going to do nothing but kill all your flowers and gaslight you into thinking that you did something wrong when you did nothing wrong. So yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to make this video to speak life into whoever's watching this, because sometimes we all could use a little reminder, big or small. Because sometimes I often forget and even have to remind myself, like, of the little things. Like, me and my sister, we usually have like a chat every week, and we just talk about different things. Sometimes it's just easy to get distracted and caught up in life and the things that go on in life, because you know how life can be. Yeah, it leads me to another topic, perspective. I feel like a lot of times life is all about perspective. In one of my other videos, I was talking about how a lot of things are a mindset thing, because they really are. It's all about perspective. It's all about how you choose to see things. Like, when you feel good, you radiate that. You exude good energy. When you feel bad, you radiate that and you exude bad energy. And sometimes that energy can feed off of other people's energy and taint their energy. Or so sometimes people can be so pessimistic that the bad outweighs the good. Yeah, I just want whoever's watching this to know that your self-worth is not Life is not. I just want whoever's watching this to know that your self-worth is not determined by external validation. You do not need validation from others. These are people you don't even know. Why are you putting their opinion of you on a pedestal? You don't know these people. These people do not matter to you. They don't bring any value to your life. So why care what they think? You are fearfully and wonderfully made. So why would you care about what some stranger has to say about you? Especially when they're just full of negativity. Like, why would you let that radiate onto your gentle and kind soul? Why would you let them dim your light? You know? So continue to just try to stay positive. I know a lot of times it can be a bit challenging, but it's definitely not impossible. Because there are a lot of negative and mean-spirited and just disgusting people in the world, but you don't have to become like them, and you don't have to entertain their nature. You don't have to be an ugly individual inside and out. You don't have to be that. You don't have to feed into that. You don't have to entertain that. You don't have to exude that. You don't have to radiate that. Excuse my family in the back, but continue to be you. You know? Another thing too is hurt people hurt people. It leads back to what I said about how misery loves company. A lot of times people will try to make you feel bad about your individuality because they don't like who they are themselves. They don't like who they wake up to in the morning and who they see when they look in the mirror. So a way that they do, and I don't know if it's like a trauma response or the psychological nature behind it essentially, but some people generally do need to put others down in order to feel better about themselves. It's really a sad and pathetic way of living, but that's just how some people operate. And I see people fall victim to it too. Like sometimes, and even then I have to remind myself, like, why am I listening to what a random person has to say? Like, your opinion means nothing. It holds no value. It holds no weight. It has no significance. So why am I, yeah. The version of you that someone else created in their mind is not your responsibility. That's not your problem. Just because someone views you a certain way or they make a certain narrative of you, that doesn't mean that's who you are as a person. And it leads me back to thinking too how there are really people in the world who thrive and bond off of disliking other people. And a lot of times they don't even like the person because the person is just rooted in themselves and just a kind and genuine person. That bothers people. It really bothers people. And it reminds me of another quote too that I saw on Pinterest. Pinterest is just so real. Like, I love Pinterest. A lot of times people's perception of you is just a reflection of them. Again, it's like I said before, people are what they radiate, and they radiate what they're full of. People project a lot. And a lot of times what they're saying about you is how they feel about themselves. Like, it really is. So don't take it to heart. And even if it wasn't, still don't take it to heart, because why are you letting what another person says about you bother you? You don't even know this person, even if you did know this person. If they're overstepping your boundaries and showing you that they don't respect you and they don't care how their words, thoughts, and actions, can impact you, you don't need to be around that person. So remove yourself and let them be wrong about you, because you don't have anything to prove. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. One of the biggest things I've also learned within the previous year going into this year is that sometimes you just have to let people be who they are, because not everyone is mature enough to, have a conversation, to even conversate. And it's sad. Like, physically people get older, but mentally they don't grow up. And it's sad. Like, if you're ever talking to someone and you have to explain to them how they're wrong and they're still not, the fact that you even have to explain to them how they're wrong is already a problem. And I know this, like, you know, a lot of times people get mad at things. People hate when they get called out about something. And it's like, you know, what you're saying is true because they're proving your point. Like, you ever talk to someone and they just prove your point, like their reaction literally proves your point, like, and they just say a bunch of nothing. But, you know, I'm getting off topic. You were not created to live up to other people's expectations. You don't owe anyone anything, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone. That's not your job. That's not what you were put here to do. That's not your purpose in this world. Okay, guys, one more thing I wanted to add on before I close out was just a quote that I seen on Pinterest that basically said, "Are you healed or just isolated with no one to trigger you?" And that's just so real, because you ever just think that you've healed from something, or that a certain part of you no longer exists because it hasn't been brought out? But then, you know, a certain thing will happen that'll just rebirth that part of you that you thought was deceased. And you're just suddenly reminded all over again. I don't really know how to explain it, but yeah. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed my little TED Talk. Again, I just wanted to speak some life into whoever needed to hear this or whoever is watching this. And I just want you to know that you are loved and you do matter regardless of whether people show it or not. Maybe you just need to surround yourself around, you know, more genuine people. And yeah, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Like, don't brush it off or give them the benefit of the doubt. Because people telling themselves all the time, it's just up to you whether you choose to see it or not, or whether you choose to heed the signs. Because when you ignore them and when you brush them off, you only put yourself in a situation where that person feels like they can, you know, get away with this stuff because you're allowing them to. There are no boundaries, you know? Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad about setting boundaries, because boundaries root out the weeds. And sometimes a lot of people react negatively because they are textbook narcissists. People hate when they can't manipulate people, so they try and deflect and make that person feel smaller so that they likely get them to do what it is they want them to do. You know? It's a tactic. It's all premeditated and planned. So don't fall victim to it. And with that being said, please love yourself. And don't let people get into your head about your individuality and what it is to love yourself. Because again, self-love is one of the best forms of love that you can have. And your life has value regardless of whether it feels like it or not. You do matter. Yeah. Until next time.